my banging. Excuse me. It's not about the tapestry, it's obviously about me. Smashley, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time. And if it's your first time, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now, if you guys watched the intro to my channel, you guys obviously know I like to make things, but it means even more so to me when I make things for my friends and my family and people that I love. So today's video is super special because I'm gonna be making this beautiful fiber art tapestry for my best friend Taj. She just moved into a new place and obviously she needs something that's designed by Smashley. It's only right. So we'll jump in and I'll show you guys how I created it.
To begin, I grabbed a 36-inch dowel from my stash and some 4mm cord. The very first thing that we want to do is cut all of our strands. Mine will be 64 inches long, so all we did was cut a piece of cardboard to use as a measure. Now, if you guys have seen me make tassels in any of my other videos, we're essentially doing that, but on a much larger scale. Same exact technique, so you'll see me wrapping all of the cord around, and then we'll cut on the one edge. To attach our strands to the dowel, we're going to be using the Lark's head knot. The macrame cord that I bought off of Amazon came with this cute little book, so it kind of shows you some instructions on how to do that knot and a few others. Take your strand and fold it in half so it's pretty even. Now, where it folds at the top, you're going to take that loop and put it underneath your dowel. Next thing you want to do is grab the top of that loop and where the strand folded in half. And you're going to take the bottom part and pull it through that loop. Make sure it's really tight on there, then slide it over and keep adding strands until the dowel is completely covered in all of your macrame cord.
Now I want to preface the next few shots that you're about to see before we actually jump in. We did this thing entirely wrong and it became a full-blown trial and error. So I will show you guys because it's aesthetically pleasing and I put a lot of hard work into it. But just know we're gonna come back at the end and I'll show you the right way to do it. All right, let's talk through some lessons learned because the entire reason that I have this channel is so that I can make mistakes so you don't have to. Now, I literally wrote these things down on a list if you guys think I'm kidding, because we literally did everything wrong. So the very first thing I will say is that the saying measure twice, cut once definitely applied here, but not to the cord. It applied to all of the dye and everything that came afterward. The very first mistake that I think we made was we didn't measure water, really. We didn't measure salt, and we definitely did not measure dye. We were kind of just feeling it out and hoping for the best, and as you saw, the best is not what we got. So that was mistake number one. Moving forward for you guys, if you're gonna do something like this at home, you definitely should measure out how much of the dye you're using, how much water, and how much salt, according to how much weight of cord you are trying to dye. But I found someone on YouTube that kind of gave me some measurements, but just so you guys can have an idea of what that ratio of dye, water, and salt will look like. So I'll flash that up on the screen for you guys right now. Mistake number two was, I don't know why, after all of the tie-dyeing that we've done, we didn't think to dampen the cord before we put the dye on it. Dampen your cord the same way that you would dampen for tie-dye or anything like that, and also dampen with warm water, kind of loosen up some of the fibers. In our research, we found that that was the better way to go, and the second time around when we did recovery, we definitely made sure that the cord was damp. Last, but certainly not least, you need to make sure that the water that you use to combine the dye and the salt remains hot. I was starting with what I thought was hot water from my sink. Ultimately, we ended up boiling it because part of our research, it should be at least about 140 degrees. Now, I don't have a kitchen thermometer. If you do, then great, definitely measure the temperature of your water. But what I did was I kind of just had a pot on the stove. We brought it up to almost a boil, and that was hot enough for us to kind of mix the salt, mix the dye, and then make our way over to dyeing the cord. If you guys have mixed your color, tested it, and the water's gotten a little cold, we ended up microwaving the water mixture with all the dye and everything in it before I put it in the bottles, and that really helped the color stay super vibrant the second time around and be a little bit more consistent to some of the swatches that we were doing. So definitely recommend, make sure your water is hot. If it is too hot to the touch, make sure you guys put gloves or something around the bottle. Not anything crazy, but just again, I'm here to make all the mistakes so you don't have to.
So let's recover and do this thing the right way. We just went ahead and rinsed it out completely. We even added a little bit of soap to try and take out some of the original dye. And then using our new technique with actual measurements, we were able to put the dye into bottles this time instead of using the foam brushes. And we kind of just painted it on there, and it started to work out much better. You'll notice as we continue to go through and pour on the new round of dye, it's soaking up much faster into the cord.
Guys, say hello.
And because we got our salt measurement right, the color came out even more vibrant. For each layer of color, we let that color sit and saturate by itself for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Once all the layers of color were laid out, we just let it drip dry overnight to make sure that the piece was completely dry before rinsing it out and letting it dry completely. To trim the piece, I found it easiest to kind of just hang it. I have these hooks on the back of my door, so I hung up the dowel and then I added some tape using a leveler across the tape to make sure we were cutting a straight line. And I found that process was really easy. We decided to just take it slow and do a few sections at a time so that we could cut all of our strands somewhat in a straight line.
To make this piece more elegant and stand out in the home, we decided to make a frame around the dowel. So we grabbed 2 1x2 pieces of wood and then also a 1x3 piece of wood. We also grabbed 2 little 1x2 pieces of wood just to put on the ends of our frame. Don't forget your wood glue and clampers. Now that we have everything we need, we can go ahead and start assembling this frame. So what we're going to do is first is glue our first 1x2. Now we can grab our clampers and clamp that piece down for about 5 minutes. Don't forget to wipe off any glue that is pouring off. Now we can go ahead and glue our end pieces to our frame. At this point, we can repeat the same steps we did for our first 1x2. So we're going to use our last 2 clamps to hold it together and then wipe off any excess glue. Now that everything is dried, we can go ahead and start sanding. I started with a 100 grit sandpaper and then moved up to 180 to get it nice and smooth. After getting rid of all the sawdust, I grabbed my wood stain, Special Walnut, and went to work. Remember to always apply the stain with the grain. After letting the stain dry, we decided to use polyurethane to give it a nice finish. So for this polyurethane, it said to use a brush or a foam brush. I just happened to have a foam brush near me, so I grabbed that and started using it. Since this is a fast drying polyurethane, it only took about 3 to 4 hours for it to dry. Now that everything is dried and trimmed, we can go ahead and assemble. All I did was just place the wooden dowel in between our empty space in our frame. Next, I placed the frame on its side and placed about 5 screws into it. Try to be careful and not snag any threads on the way down.
What do you guys think? Honestly, okay, I got really discouraged with this project halfway through. You guys, I say it all the time, but DIY is a labor of love. You really have to be into this sometimes to deal with all the trial and error BS, but if I'm gonna get results like this every time, honey, it doesn't even matter. I absolutely love it. Taj and Steve, I hope you guys love this. I can't wait to see it in a new place. Overall, I hope you guys found this video extremely helpful. Please let me know in the comment section below if you have any tips or tricks for me because I clearly need them. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.